What's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing some Zombie World test hands. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification, become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like getting your name description for a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting a request deck profile every single month you're a patron. If you guys would like to check out the deck profile used in this video, as always for every test hand video, it is down in the description down below. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So Zombie World is an amazing deck that uses all sorts of awesome zombie monsters to help you make an incredible board. This build uses the Horus engine to be able to summon out the zombie vampire so you can send a bunch of zombies to the graveyard, which is amazing. And it's so fun to be able to play. But you guys know it's dad rule number one that we've got to pile shuffle the deck or you run the risk of bricking. So let's go ahead and pile shuffle the deck and then give the deck a quick shuffle to see what we can do for our first test hand. I've got some really spicy tech cards in this build for you guys, and I'm really excited to show zombies because it's one of my favorite decks to be able to play. So let's go ahead and shuffle up the deck and then see what we can do for our first test hand. So first off, we're going to draw into a copy of Gozuki. That's a great normal summon, Forbidden Droplets, a copy of Infinite Impermanence, Ash Blossom. We basically have all the We're Going to Stop Our Opponent cards and a copy of Glow Up Bloom. This is actually a pretty interesting hand right off the bat because we can actually establish Zombie World and get a bunch of cards on our side of the field that are just going to stop the opponent. This is actually a really powerful hand, but it actually plays really simply. So what we're going to do is normal summon our copy of Gozuki and use Gozuki's ability to be able to send from our deck to the graveyard our copy of Banshee. Banshee's great to be able to send to the graveyard because it's actually going to help us establish our copy of Zombie World. As this card is sealed, you can banish this card from your field or your graveyard to be able to activate Zombie World directly from your hand or deck, which is a great ability to instantly get our copy of Zombie World out on our side of the field. So we can basically go ahead and establish it to basically lock down the opponent, because it's really going to mess up your opponent's plays when they can't tribute summon anything but zombies, and it turns everything on the field and graveyard into zombies. We can now just set our copy of Droplet, set our copy of Imperm, and pass over to the opponent. And again, this is a very simple field, but it's very effective because with this particular field, we actually have 3 negates, which is really cool. Plus the copy of Droplets can send Glow Bloom to the graveyard, which is going to help us out even more. And we have the copy of our Infinite Impermanence, Ash, and the copy of Glow Bloom, which is a really cool field. This is a very simple field for zombies, but it's a really awesome way to be able to play the deck. So let's go ahead and go into the next test hand and see what we can do. But I'm going to show you guys really quickly what we would draw. We would actually draw into the Shining Sarcophagus, or the copy of the King Sarcophagus, excuse me, to be able to instantly go in for our Horus cards, which is really, really cool. So let's go ahead and see what we can do for our next one. That's a very simple way to play zombies, is you basically just want to summon out either Unizombie or Gozuki to your side of the field. So you can send one of your zombies to the graveyard and establish your copy of Zombie World on your side of the field with a bunch of negates, which is really, really cool. So let's go ahead and shuffle up the deck and see what we can do for our next test hand. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle it up and draw. So we're going to draw a copy of Doom King this time, a copy of Mizuki, Mad Mauler, King Sarcophagus, and a copy of Unizombie. So let's go ahead and see what we can do with this hand. So we're going to go ahead and activate our copy of King Sarcophagus, and this is actually going to give us some Horus plays, which is great. And we actually have 2 cards we want to get in the graveyard, which is our copy of Mizuki, or our copy of Mizuki, and our copy of Doom King. So we're going to go ahead and send our copy of Mizuki first, and once we do, we're going to send our copy of Imseti. Imseti is great to be able to send to the graveyard because now once we've got Imseti in the graveyard, we can actually use King Sarcophagus' effect again and get our copy of Doom King in the graveyard. Now once we get Doom King in the graveyard, we'll be able to send our copy of Happy, and in this build, I actually play 3 different names in this deck, so we can actually use it again to send Mad Mauler if we want to get our copy of our other name in the graveyard, the Blessing of Horus, which is a great card to be able to get in the graveyard just to make sure that in case our opponent has like a Bestial, they can't Bestial away Happy and Blessing because it's a water and a wind monster, whereas Imseti is dark. So what we're going to do is just use their effects and instantly get all 3 of them back on our side of the field. And once we get all 3 of these monsters on the field, we're going to overlay 2 of them to be able to summon out to our side of the field the Zombie Vampire, which is great to instantly get it out on our side of the field because now we can basically just detach a material if we want to and then instantly mill cards from our deck. But what I'm going to do is actually normal summon out a copy of Unizombie first because this card has the ability that you detach a material and then use it. It's not an on-summon effect. So we're going to go ahead and normal summon our copy of Unizombie and mill the deck even more by going ahead and sending our copy of Banshee to the graveyard and then banishing Banshee to make sure that we get that copy of Zombie World on our side of the field. So we're going to go ahead and get our copy of our Zombie World on the field, shuffle up the deck, and then now we're going to see what we can do. We're going to go ahead and shuffle it up, and then we're going to use the effect of our Zombie Vampire to detach our copy of Happy from it to be able to mill the top 4 cards of both players' decks. And we're just going to say the opponent hits all spells and traps. We're not going to worry about what they would mill. We're just focused on getting zombies in the graveyard. So we're going to go ahead and send a copy of Ash Blossom, Called by the Grave, Forbidden Droplet, and a copy of Glowbloom. That is great to actually send Glowbloom, because Glowbloom has the ability, if it's sent to the graveyard, banish it, and then add a level 5 or higher zombie. But if you have a copy of Zombie World in the field, you can actually special summon it, but you cannot special summon anything but zombies for the rest of the turn, which is totally fine, except that's all we're going to summon anyways. So we're going to bring back Ash Blossom to our side of the field. I know that's really weird, but the reason we're doing that is because we can actually use Glowbloom's ability now to banish it, and then special summon a zombie from our deck. Which always summon out Changshi. Do not summon out Baller Draw, because Changshi can send Baller Draw to the graveyard, so you can actually keep going. Now we are locked into zombies at this point, but it doesn't really matter because our copy of Unizombie has had its level increased by 1 because we did use the effect to be able to send our copy of Banshee to the graveyard. I always target Unizombie for the effect. So this card is a level 4 right now. So we're going to keep that in mind. This card is a level 6, so we can actually go in for our Red Eyes Zombie Dragon Lord. We're going to use the effect of Changshi to be able to send an additional monster to the graveyard. I like to send Al Ghul Mazra, or you can even send your copy of Mizuki, but I like to send Al Ghul if I've already got my copy of Baller Draw in the graveyard, because it just gives us more options to be able to go into. And at this point, we can go in for our Synchro play, using our copy of Unizombie and Changshi to be able to go in for a copy of Red Eyes Zombie Dragon Lord. So we're going to bring that out down here. And we have a Link play that we can actually go in for, because this is a zombie now. So we're going to use these two on our side of the field. And we're going to step into our copy of Flying Mary. Flying Mary is awesome to be able to summon, because now we can actually bump this card back and summon a zombie back from the graveyard, which is great to instantly get a zombie out on our side of the field. So I'm actually going to bring out a copy of Doom King. And once we bring out our copy of Doom King to our side of the field by bumping this card back to the back row, we're going to be able to use our effect of our Mad Mauler to be able to target our copy of our Baller Draw and reduce its level by 2 to summon it back to our side of the field. And then we're going to go ahead and Synchro Summon using both of these into a copy of Skeletal Dragon Felgram, which just gives us more options to be able to go into. And at this point, we're going to go ahead and pass over to the opponent. Now, once we pass over to the opponent, we do have the effect during the standby phase that we can bring Doom King back to our side of the field. So now we have a negate. We have the copy of the Red Eyes Zombie Dragon Lord that if it's on your side of the field during the opponent's turn, you can target a zombie monster in your grave and then special summon it back to your side of the field. So you can bring back anything that you want to your side of the field, which is great. We also have the copy of the Mizuki to be able to go in for more plays. We have Skeletal Dragon Felgram that says that if this card is special summoned, you target a monster your opponent controls or in the grave and banish it, so we can get rid of something that we sent to the grave off the copy of the Zombie Vampire. And this card is also a negate, because if a monster is special summoned from either player's graveyard while monster is on the field, you can actually target one of their face-up monster on the field and negate its effects. So you can actually use that with your copy of your Red Eyes Zombie Dragon Lord. So when your opponent puts something on the field, you can use the effect of your Red Eyes Zombie Dragon Lord, bring back your copy of, say, Mad Mauler, or even your copy of your Unizombie to your side of the field to basically just use the effect of your Skeletal Dragon Felgram, that if a monster is summoned, you can target a card on the field that's on face-up monster and negate its effects. And you also have Baller Draw that can activate and banish something and negate something. So with this field, you've got all these established plays, and you have the copy of Flying Mary that on the follow-up, you can use with either of these monsters to be able to basically destroy a monster with 2,800 or less attack points as well, which is great. And you have Al Ghul Mazra. If you don't clog up your zones, you can summon the Al Ghul Mazra back to your side of the field to be able to protect your zombies, which is really cool. And on the follow-up, when we draw, we're going to draw in another King of Baller Draw, which is really good because we can just basically use this for other plays like Unizombie, sending it to graveyard. And so we basically have one rolling that just in case our opponent does banish this one, we still have plays. So that's an insane field using the Horus cards. So let's go ahead and go into the next one, guys, just to show you guys basically how the deck plays. If you don't draw into the Horus cards, you don't get quite as much advantage because you need to be able to use them to be able to send cards to the graveyard. And that's a really important thing also, just to show you guys as well. That's very, very, very important about this deck, is this card is one of the only cards in the entire deck that locks you. And it actually says that for the rest of the term, you can't special summon anything but zombies, but that's totally fine because you basically just do all your plays before you go into your zombie plays. So that's very important to keep in mind. Also, one other important thing is your copy of Unizombie makes it so only zombies can attack, which is really important as well, because after you activate its first effect, you can target one monster on the field, and then that monster you control, or for the rest of the turn, monster you control can't attack except zombies after you use its effect. So keep that in mind as you're playing this deck. Those two effects are very relevant and lock you down a little bit, but if you have a zombie roll on the field, it doesn't really matter. So let's go ahead and shuffle it up and go into our next test hand. Make sure that we don't have anything that is an extract card shuffled into the deck, because I do have like the same sleeves on the main deck as the extract, so that does come up every so often. I'll accidentally shuffle an extract card into it, but let's go ahead and shuffle it up and see what we can do for our next test hand. So go ahead and shuffle it up and see what we can do. So you guys saw with just Gozuki you can still play, which is really cool, and even if you draw into the horse cards you can still play. Now we're drawing into a brick. We do have the copy of Imseti, that's pretty good, so we can actually play. King Sarcophagus, ooh, that's a really weird hand. Okay, so this is a really weird hand with Horus. So let's go ahead and see. So this hand doesn't even matter if your opponent Ash Blossoms you, because you do have the copy of Imseti and you already have King Sarcophagus, so this is actually bait, which is really neat. So we're gonna go ahead and use the effect of our Imseti and our copy of our Blessing to send to the graveyard, and we're gonna say that it actually does go through, but your opponent could hand trap you here to Ash Blossom you, but you could still play because you already have King Sark. So we're gonna go ahead and shuffle this up. And once we do, now we can activate King Sark on our side of the field, send the King Sark from our hand. Oh, also we get a draw because of the Imseti. So let's go ahead and draw, shuffle it up. Don't forget the draw. That's very important. It does give you a +1. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle it up, or break even, I guess, because you got rid of 2 cards. So we're going to draw. Unizombie's great to draw here. We're going to go ahead and activate King Sark, send King Sark to the grave, and then we're going to go ahead and send Happy. So we have all of our names in the graveyard now, and we're going to bring them back to our side of the field. Make sure that you do that as you're playing this deck as well. Just go ahead and bring them all back to your side of the field, because if you go ahead and bring them all back and you hit something like a copy of Glow Up Bloom, when you summon out the zombie vampire, you can still basically play because you've already summoned out everything that's not zombies. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and normal summon our copy of Unizombie, use its effect, and once we do, we're going to send another copy of Banshee to the graveyard, which is important to get that copy of Banshee to the graveyard, as once we get her in the grave, we can basically set our copy of Zombie World up. So we can go ahead and banish it. And then once we do, we're going to go ahead and place Zombie World on our side of the field. So now we have Zombie World, and everything on the field and in the graveyard is zombies, making it very difficult for your opponent to play. So now at this point, we're going to go ahead and overlay both of these because Imseti is the largest of them. And we're going to go ahead and overlay them way down here and make our copy of wherever it is. Let's see. We're going to go ahead and make the Zombie Vampire. So once you establish Zombie Vampire, you can go ahead and detach. And also this would be level 4. Keep that in mind. This would be level 4 because you targeted it with its own effect. So this card would be level 4. We're going to go ahead and detach, and we're going to mill the top 4 cards of our deck. So we're going to go ahead and mill, and we're going to be able to send a copy of Super Poly, Changshi, a copy of Infinite Impermanence, and a Unizombie. It doesn't matter what the opponent sends, we want that Changshi. So we're going to bring out this card to our side of the field, use its effect, send to the graveyard, Baller Drop, or you can actually send off of this card the Al Ghul, because I'm going to show you guys a cool play. So now we send Al Ghul to the graveyard, and once we have that Al Ghul Mazra in the graveyard, you can instantly go in for a synchro play right here for a different boss monster this time. You should actually go for the Sword Soul Supreme Sovereign this time, which is really neat because now we've got Sword Soul on the field, and we haven't locked ourselves into zombies because we haven't used Glow Bloom yet. So we're actually going to go in for a copy of the Sword Soul Supreme Sovereign using the Unizombie and our copy of Changshi. And now at this point, we're going to go ahead and drop the copy of the Foolish Burial to be able to send our copy of, let's go ahead and send Glow Bloom to the grave, which is going to go ahead and establish us another negate because we're going to banish it and summon out Baller Draw directly from the deck to our side of the field. And now we've got another negate on the field, which is really, really good to be able to establish. And we have an Ash in the hand. We have our copy of our Changshi that if anything gets banished, we're going to banish card off our opponent's field and in the graveyard. And we have the effect of our Al Ghul. The Al Ghul says if this card is banished, you can actually use the effect of a zombie monster control will be destroyed by battle by card effect, banish it from your grave or your hand, and then if it's banished, you can special summon it back and reduce its level by 1, which is optional. And you have the effect of your Changshi as well. Your copy of your, the Sword Soul Supreme Sovereign to be able to use its effect. to be able to banish a card from the field in the grave, and it's going up by an additional 200 because we have 2 cards banished as well, which is pretty good. So it's actually a pretty good field to be able to just establish, and it was kind of a weird hand, but we still established a really cool field. And we do have our copy of Baller Drop. We have This Is Negate. We have our Meli that if our opponent deals with cards on the field. We also have the ability of another card on the field, and the neutral leaves the field by an opponent's card. While you have discard in the monster zone, you can send a card from the field to the grave. So you have a send to grave, you have a banish from field and grave, you have a negate, and you have an ash. So you basically have 4 interactions, and if your opponent tries to destroy anything, you can banish this from the grave and then summon it back to your side of the field, which will make this go off, and also this card will just come out as a level 8. So on the follow-up, you basically just use both of these and step into your number 90 if you need another monster gate, or you can just basically link them away for other plays as well, which is another option for you guys if you want to. So you have other options with this deck, which is really cool. But this is basically a standard board for the deck to be able to just establish all this on the field and have the ash in hand, which is really nice. And then you have basically your graveyard set up. So that is going to do it for this one, guys. I'm really excited to show you guys this one because I love Zombie World. It's such a fun deck. There's so many cool different engines you can play in it, but I really like playing Meli and stuff like that in here. The Horus engine is just so good in this deck to help you summon out the zombie vampire, and that's what I really wanted to show you guys in this video, is how powerful it is. And it kind of even like plays into it, because if you guys didn't know the lore behind these, just to tell you guys really quickly a fun note. But the cool note about this is these are actually based on the cantopic jars, which you guys didn't know. That's a part of the mummification process. So you guys should look that up as well, which is really interesting. So it actually plays into the zombies aspect of the deck as well, which is why I really like playing these. So that is that's gonna do for this one, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this one. It's super fun to be able to play zombies. If you guys have not played zombies before, you should definitely give this deck a try because it's so fun to be able to play. And if you guys have not checked out the deck profile for this deck, it is down in the description down below. It's super fun to be able to play, and you can establish insane boards like that, which is really, really cool. Even a simplified board where you just have Gozuki, you have Zombie World, and you have a bunch of back row, it's still really good because if they can't deal with the Gozuki, you can just keep sending zombies every single one of your turns to the grave to be able to fill up the graveyard and really get the momentum rolling, because once you establish your grave with this deck, you're really gonna go. So that's gonna do this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad. And if you guys have not checked out the deck profile, as always, it is down in the description down below. We'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.